And welcome to the No Assembly Required podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing and I alienate my co-host. Speaking of which, let's get the ball rolling with jolly old Romina, followed by Audrey by an open fire Ember, fire that she probably started, and of course your favorite dark lord of the internet, the Grinch himself, who is intent on stealing all of your holiday cheer, Roberto Blake. Welcome to the No Assembly Required podcast, filmed in front of a live YouTube audience, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays, except when it is a holiday. Please like and subscribe.
Beautiful, as usual.
That was excellent.
Thank you.
Wait, what
really nice job. Except that you called me old.
I said old, not old. Jolly old Romina, like jolly old St. Nicholas.
I heard old too.
I'll let it slide.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But it's still kind of like I don't know. I don't like feeling like a grandma. You know what I'm saying?
Don't worry.
You can be Grandpa Roberto and embrace
Back
it.
in my day.
I got a couple decades left. All right.
Back in my day, we used to have to walk 15 miles in the snow to our podcast.
What? No, the Grinch. Okay. All right. Andy says the Grinch is anti-capitalist. I see Roberto as more of a Scrooge. I don't think the Grinch is anti-capitalist. I think he's just pro-love.
No, the Grinch is just pro himself. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean the story. Sorry, guys. I meant how the Grinch stole Christmas, not the character. Right? I mean, it's about spreading holiday cheer and, like, the meaning of Christmas is being together as opposed to buying things. It's anti-consumerism. Mindless consumerism.
That's fair.
I wouldn't say it's anti-capitalist because
it's anti-consumerism.
Yeah, because they still kind of like, I mean, it's still nice to buy presents and gifts.
There was no money message at all in the Grinch, and so it was literally just about commercialism, and consumerism, and that's not the meaning, and all of that jazz. Also, there was some level of not judging a book by its cover, and there was a message of kindness and inclusion in there.
Yeah. Lucas says, Romina, are you watching Die Hard this year? You bet I am. I'm watching it tonight, actually. That's my plan. After I get off of NARP and talking to these guys, I'm going to die hard. You know what I'm saying? True Christmas film. Audrey, why are you laughing?
I don't know. I've seen some like debates on Twitter about that, and I still haven't seen it.
About Die Hard being a Christmas movie?
All right, so then that's what you have to do this holiday season. You need to watch Die Hard. Get your friends together, get some hot cocoa with some little mini marshmallows in it, huddle up in some really big blankets, and watch some Die Hard.
Anytime you guys say something or reference something I don't know, I'm putting this banner.
Wow.
Wow.
You could have at least gotten our skin tones. I mean,
I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna say it. So
I couldn't choose it on the.
What about representation, Audrey? Freaking gold people. Yeah, change it.
What's wrong with that? Okay, fine. I'll change it.
Clearly it's off by many degrees for both of us.
I couldn't find the skin tone on the computer.
For those of you who are just listening and can't enjoy the visuals, first of all, you're making a huge mistake by not watching this live every Thursday on youtube.com/noassemblypod. We do this every Thursday at 8 p.m.-ish, whenever Roberto decides to show up. That's Eastern Standard Time. Unless we're working on Roberto Standard Time, then it's RST. But what's on the screen right now is Audrey decided to make a little ticker that has two old people emojis running across the screen. So she thinks that it's funny. She thinks it's cute. that she's going to play this every time that Roberto and I make a reference that she doesn't understand.
Yeah, she's gonna think that's cute and everything, and then one day she's gonna wake up and she's
One
gonna
day
be
she's gonna
old like us.
she's going to realize what cute is.
Oh, there we go.
It's an old lady.
I'm
That's what
adorable,
cute
damn
is.
it. I'm
Exactly.
adorable, damn it.
You've seen the
Which
queen?
one are you, Romina?
She's cute because she's old. Nobody cares about the queen, you know, being the queen. She's old, so she's cool, you know, instantly. Doesn't matter what she does. It's like, oh, she's old. It's all right.
Should I put a baby with them? Hold on.
Why are you putting it? Oh, is this you? Is that a representation of you, Audrey?
No,
Audrey,
that would be a diss
what are you
against
trying?
myself.
Okay.
That is not the purpose.
What are you trying to say? All right, guys. Well, Audrey tries to figure out the representation here of this podcast.
Yeah, I can't find the colors. Okay,
I think
oh no, I made the wrong type of.
Oh my god. I can't even, you know, I mean, this is what happens when you what
did it
generation are you?
backwards?
What generation are you, Audrey?
I made it the wrong type.
She's a
of,
zoomer. Audrey's a zoomer.
All right. This is what
there
happens.
we go. There we go.
Why'd you make me so dark?
Dude, there's not
That's
that
all
many
they had.
options.
I'm pretty sure
There's
that's
not
all
that
they
many
had.
options,
They-
dude.
Pretty much the same color as Roberto.
I know. That
What
Yeah,
have
they
you
didn't have
done?
olive. They didn't have olive to like for your complexion.
I'll change it.
You know what? I'm suing.
I'm not.
I don't know who I'm suing, but I'm suing someone. In the
I
spirit
guess
of
you'd probably
Hanukkah.
sue Apple in this instance.
Which one? Do you like this one more?
In the spirit of Hanukkah, I am suing whoever's responsible. Yeah, see, look at this. Nick Strode says, don't disrespect the queen. Exactly. She's old. Nobody disrespects.
If this was a different like type of podcast and we weren't more like, you know, family friendly ish, safe for work and everything like that, I would just quote Riley Freeman from Boondocks in this scenario because he has the perfect quote for that.
Here we go.
Man,
This
you
is
know
I'll
not
tell
what?
you guys
I
after the
haven't-
show. I'll tell you guys after the show.
That looks more accurate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like
That's
that
a
one.
little
The
better.
other one was too dark. I
don't-
was like the
can't-
same color as Roberto.
No, they weren't.
You really
Audrey.
weren't like, but
All right.
Okay.
You know what?
I don't know what to do, man. There's not too many.
yeah, it's
options.
pretty
Whatever.
close. It's pretty close.
Roberto's
And that's
bald,
closer to
so-
like my sister's complexion anyway.
There's no choices, dude.
All right. Well, then this is what we're going to have to deal with. Here's
Got this one.
We need to like
I
get
mean,
into
what I
this
want
for the
often.
audio. We need to like entertain the audio only people.
Sorry.
hey, I'm trying here. I'm trying to entertain them. I was actually going to go into Boondocks. I was going to talk about that because I haven't watched Boondocks in a long time. When was the last
Oh,
time you
God.
watched Boondocks? I haven't watched it in like
I want it to come
2
back.
years.
I want it to come back so bad in this environment. Oh my God.
Oh, no.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
All right,
yes.
Okay. Did you ever watch that Uncle Ruckus movie? Wow, he's even laughing like an old man. He's laughing like an old man. Audrey's scared. She literally has her finger on 911 right now. She's
No, I have my finger on this button.
Oh look.
She's got her
guys.
finger on the nope button.
Someone is requesting that we ASMR describe the emojis for the audio group. You see, I told you having an ASMR podcast. You know, Roberto, maybe you should start an angry ASMR channel.
Oh God, that would be so good.
Right?
Angry ASMR.
Angry ASMR. I hate
So-
everything.
I'm
Life
so
is
angry.
pointless.
Guys,
So angry right now. I'm a boiling cauldron of rage and sadness.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
No one's
Audrey's like, what's a
innocent in my
boondog?
eyes. No one's innocent in my eyes. Oh God, we're terrible.
But really, so what's going on here is I just plugged in this microphone. So I have the Zoom H1 handy recorder, which isn't really a microphone, it's a recorder, but Anyway, I plugged it in. It just has a mic on it, but I plugged it in to my computer for the first time today ever. I've had this microphone for maybe 6 years now, maybe something like that, whenever it came out. So I've never plugged it in because, well, first of all, I've just never really needed to. Every time I've used it, it's just been recorded audio that I sync with video. So I've never done it like a live stream using this microphone before. So if you guys can notice the improvement in audio quality, if it sounds exactly the same, let me know, and then I'll go cry in a corner.
Okay.
This is very exciting. Not you, Roberto. I'm telling the audience. I'm talking to the audience here. You told me to entertain the audio group. This is what I'm doing.
Okay.
But today, we're actually talking about working hard and not getting anywhere. This was, I think Roberto was coming in hot with this topic, and so
Less hot than you might think.
I'm just trying to entertain the audience here. So if you could just,
I don't want you hyping this up beyond what it actually will be, only to disappoint them.
Well, I don't know what it's going to be because this was your suggestion. So if you would like to jump in.
All right. So the way I'll do that is like, all right. So for the question to the two of you, starting with Audrey, like this year or any time in your recent memory, like, have you felt like you've been working really hard only to not get anywhere?
My entire life.
Yes and no.
Audrey, elaborate.
Well, okay, I have an example.
Okay.
So, my most recent video, this is like a positive example. I actually, because I feel like sometimes I know when I'm working hard and I'm not getting anywhere, but I do it anyway because I don't know what else to do. Does that make sense? But on my most recent video, I really took more time to like plan things, make the thumbnail better, and like do more supers and overlays and stuff.
Yeah.
And it paid off. Like it's already the like 2 out of 10 or whatever the thing that shows you in your. So I think yes and no. Sometimes when I work hard and I'm like, why am I not getting anywhere? I kind of can analyze and know why that's happening.
Yeah.
I still could do it anyway. I don't know if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of my story.
I shared your video today.
What?
I shared your video today.
Oh, I saw you share the 5-year one. Thank you for that.
But I shared today's video today.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yep.
What? I will go check. Thank you.
Yeah.
What?
Someone had a comment. Someone had an interesting comment, and they were like, "Well, she's like doing okay and everything like that, but like it was great for you to share." It's like, but she was like, and I don't have anything against this comment, but I have like, well, I gave a reply to it. Maybe you'll kind of understand or appreciate this reply, Romina. But like, I was sharing Audrey's video today on becoming a successful like YouTuber from a small channel perspective, and I got a commenter that asked if I know any like that she commented that like, okay, and good for Audrey, but like she's gonna be okay. It was it was not a shade comment to Audrey, but it was someone specifically asking like, well, do you have any like recommendations or like anybody you can share a video from that is a small channel that it like with advice that's a person of color? And I was like, all the channels that come to mind, I've already made it. So they're bigger than Audrey right now. All the channels that I knew of people that would be what this person was asking for or looking for is like, well, I would or I could. But when those people were giving advice, like a year or two ago when they were smaller, well, they're twice as big as Audrey now. So it wouldn't accomplish the thing. It's like, and I get the question, but also in a way it's like, the assumption that like, well, Audrey's going to be like successful without like knowing her, which is it's not a wrong assumption. It's just that I don't fully trust it was a good faith assumption, if that makes sense, and that somebody is going to have it implicitly harder because they brought up something about the YouTube algorithm. And I'm like, the YouTube algorithm doesn't consider race, but people do. that's society. I believe the algorithm to be a reflection of the market. And like, well, the majority of people in America, the demographics are statistically what they are. That doesn't mean that people can't identify with other people, nor would I use like the massive success of someone like Marquez and what he's accomplished to invalidate anybody who doesn't have that same experience or isn't as accomplished. But it's like, I'm of the fundamental belief that people are successful or are not successful for a reason. I don't accept that reason to be luck, because I don't accept the idea of those things being random, because scientifically, for me to be satisfied with the notion that success is predicated on luck in any meaningful way, I'm not suggesting that luck literally 0% exists. I'm saying for me to accept its weight in any meaningful way, in the same way that I measure things with the damn YouTube algorithm, I would have to, if luck were a significant factor, then success would not have patterns. It would not be homogenous. It would not be congruent. And we would see success dispersed around a random diaspora of people with no characteristics or traits, or less characteristics and traits in common than what we see. But you know what we see in terms of success, depending on how we measure success? For one thing, I did a TubeBuddy case study, and we found patterns of, here's how many on average videos people upload to be successful. If we use success by degrees of subscriber counts, it's hundreds and thousands of videos. So I'm not shocked that most people who are small YouTubers have less than 300 videos, because we did a case study. We looked at the numbers. I'm not shocked that most people who are not successful at YouTube have been doing it less than 5 years. Most businesses never turn a profit their first 5 years. Why would it? People have this imaginary fantasy that YouTube is different, because literally a handful of people every year get to 1 million in their first year, because a handful of people out of 100 million people do that. People, give more credence to this idea of luck. But all of those people, you know what most of those people have in common? I have never once seen a truly broke, destitute person get to 1 million subscribers on YouTube in a year. Not once. If you want to look at someone like Janelle wasn't an industry plant, and Janelle didn't get lucky, even though someone could argue she won the algorithmic lottery. But let's look at a case like Janelle Iliana, who I think has absolutely earned her success. And there's reasons her stuff was successful, but let's review some characteristic traits. One, someone who pretty much probably, again, grew up on YouTube, so not naive to what is successful on YouTube, and someone who spent like 2 years, I think, in the van life. So literally her YouTube story was like a 2-year thing in the making, on top of the hardship in life that motivated her, because like she had a falling out with her parents and moved out after like being lied to about like not having them. They lied to her whole life and told her they saved up for a college education. She was supposed to be the first person in her family to go to college, and that meant something to her. So like she moved out in the dead of the night after a blow up fight with her parents, when like she found out, oh, you've been lying to me my whole life. So yes, she worked hard, and then people are going to say, oh, but you got lucky. But it's not luck that she literally decided to go the non-traditional route and move out of the apartment after getting her own apartment, and decided to spend all of the money she had saved in the world, $10,000 buying a van, and then spent another $10,000 tricking it out, and then put like another couple of grand into her YouTube mobile setup. Like, so if somebody spends $25,000 into the story of their first YouTube video, I'm not shocked that it's mad successful and that they have viral potential. My friend Scotty from the YouTube channel Strange Parts blew up on his first YouTube video because he had the ability to go to China pre-COVID. He had the money and the time to spend 6 months documenting, putting together an iPhone from scratch with manufacturer's parts and build his own custom iPhone. And he literally put 100 hours into making a YouTube video because he financially was in a position to where he didn't have to do another job while doing that. You know, So he was financially stable enough to put 100 hours into his first video, 6 months into crafting a storyline. Like Peter McKinnon blew up in a year, but he had 15 years of experience as a professional photographer and filmmaker. He had also the skills of doing up close magic and doing cardistry and doing things like that. So he had years of something with a higher level of failure rate, a higher level of charisma, and had already done quality content that had real stakes and real money on the line. So he was not an amateur coming to YouTube. He was a professional. So when people who are professionals, performers, have interesting storylines, or literally have money to throw at something, I'm not shocked that with those advantages, they blow up. They didn't get lucky. There's a reason for everything. That's my kind of thing. There's a scientific explanation for things. That's why I don't believe in luck. And I think there's a real harsh lesson in sometimes when you do something and it doesn't go anywhere. Sometimes we can't let ego set aside and say there's a reason.
Yeah.
I want to read one of the comments that we've got. Well, there's a couple good comments that we've gotten, but Andy San in the in the chat says, "Working with bigger channels, I realized that my failure as a YouTuber isn't because I don't know enough. It's because I didn't make content that connects with an audience." It's very well
that sets ego aside, but
right.
I wouldn't be so quick to call yourself like a quote unquote failure, because like, for one thing, a lot of people make channels and their first or second channel doesn't go anywhere. You know, Mr. Beast, his current channel is like his second or third YouTube channel like that he made since he was a kid, and he was still a small YouTuber for like, I think like 6 or 7 years before he was he was a small YouTuber longer than he's been a big YouTuber. That's usually the case for a lot of people. There are rare exceptions in that. I'm a rare exception in that. Like, a lot of people, their first 100 videos, I'll be real with you. I think, the long game matters, because the long game matters versus the short-term wins. Because if you measure how many subscribers we had at our first 100 videos, I, on that version of a timeline at 100 videos, beat Marquez and beat Mr. Beast, but go to 500 videos and they absolutely obliterate me by the time they got to their 500th upload versus my 500th upload. You see what I'm saying? Like, people measure sometimes the wrong place in the timeline, and they look at failure through a very immediate or FOMO based lens versus like you don't judge a game in the first inning. You play it through all the way to the 9th, you know?
Yeah, that kind of resonates with one of the other comments that we got from Juan. For when I was young, I tried to be a Minecraft YouTuber. I uploaded 20 videos and then gave up.
Yeah, like that's a thing.
Which is kind of, and I mean, that kind of reminds me of my channel, RedRomina. When I started it, it was my gaming channel. So it was actually my second channel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not the second channel I make, but like not my primary channel. And so RedRomina was my gaming channel. And so I did that for maybe like 4 or 5 months. And I had the whole thing. Like, I had the Elgato. I freaking invested in that. I was like, I'm going to make a gaming channel.
Are those still up?
No. So the thing about that was that every time that I went to go make a video, I thought, well, I just want to have fun and play a video game. I don't want to make a video. And it was really, and it became increasingly more difficult every time that I went to go film a video, because it was like this whole process when really I just wanted to play games. And I didn't really want to have a video gaming channel. And it kind of took a while to come to terms with that. One, because I had invested money already. And second, because I had invested time. And I was already building an audience with the video gaming stuff. But it was such a chore. And I was like, I can't, I think if I can't do this now, how am I supposed to do this for the long run? Like, how am I supposed to do this for a year? You know, I was just like thinking about this. And so I decided to just give it all up and focus on what I do now, which is more personality based. But that's not to say that I wouldn't go back to doing the kind of gaming channels, as long as there's not like a weight, you know, this pressure to constantly be making content around games. Because I just want to play games, you know. I don't want to do the whole thing. But I feel like I don't feel like that was a failure. I feel like it was a revelation.
It was a lesson.
Yeah, because I came to that conclusion but only by doing it. There's no other way that I could have done that unless I had jumped into the deep end.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think that there are lessons, and I think that people's problem is largely they're emotionally leveraged in their expectations or their desires or what they think they're deserving of. And then they try and use outside things and outside people and judgments and things like that to kind of validate the fact that they just want their emotions validated. Like, they just want their emotions validated. Because like, I thought about it from this perspective. And the thing is, but we also, again, we have this very high and mighty opinion of what we do and don't deserve. And we don't use any objectivity when it comes to it. And you see that people get defensive when anyone like me talks about the fact that people who are successful, they absolutely deserve to be there. And there's a reason for their success. And they take it as an insult to them versus as a lesson to them of, here's what that person is doing and has done. And here's what you have done. It doesn't matter that you worked hard if you worked hard on the wrong thing. And they hate being told they're doing it wrong. But there's like, if you want that outcome and this person has that outcome and you are not going to do the things they did at the level that they did it or anything of comparable, like, why would you have that then? So like saying you work hard, let's look at it from a couple of perspectives. Let's look at sports. If you work hard, but you work on your arms and you're lifting dumbbells, why would you beat someone who worked hard on their legs in a race? You wouldn't. But people use that when they want to say well, everyone works hard, but they don't get anywhere. And it's bullshit, because the thing is, people work hard on things that wouldn't get them where they think they want to go if they want to say getting somewhere. All right, what is getting somewhere? Are you talking about the amount of money someone has, the amount of success, the accolades, the happiness, the what? Because if you're working hard, but you're not doing what that person does, like, oh, I work hard, but I'm not this or I'm not that. All right, that person worked hard at specifically chasing the dream of Hollywood. You're working hard at the grocery store. Why would working hard at the grocery store get you an Emmy?
Right.
Like, it doesn't make any sense, you know? And people get mad and say, I work hard, but I don't have these things. But they're not working toward those things. They're not working toward those things. If you had a goal of being a successful YouTuber, but you spend the majority of your energy on something that's not YouTube, why would you become a successful YouTuber? If you said your dream is to be a successful writer, but you find every ounce of your free time for something other than writing, why would you be a successful writer?
Now,
People don't have a clear, defined goal and vision that they actually work for. Their actions don't line up to their ambitions, or they don't even know what their ambition is or should be.
Okay. Now, what would you say to someone who legitimately did work hard and did focus their time on something and didn't reach their goal?
I would ask them who they know. I would ask them who they know who has achieved that goal, and if they've been studying and modeling themselves after 3 to 5 people who have achieved that goal, and if they've analyzed their results. And then I would look at, okay, here's what these 5 people did in their early journey. Let's look at what you're doing and see if there's anything that you're doing in common with those people, and let's see what they did or changed incrementally over a period of time. And let's look at whether you're doing any of that. And let's also look at the gap between the results you can produce now and the results that produced their outcome. So I would look at things like your body of work. If someone said, give me an example that's not like YouTube of like someone saying I've worked hard on a specific thing but I don't have success. Like give me an example and
What
and
about
then
a
give me
musician?
okay, a musician. All right, so if that musician, who are they modeling after? Who is successful in their eyes?
Let's
Michael
say
Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Okay, I'm going to go a little
Let's
bit
not
more.
say Michael Jackson.
Let's say what
Let's
about
do someone
let's
from
say
today.
Tame
Let's-
Impala.
I don't know that person. Let's use someone very relevant to
What do you
today
mean you
that
don't know
maybe
that
me.
person? All right, okay, so you want to go pop. Everybody knows Tame Impala. You've heard his music. John Mayer.
Like, yeah, I want somebody from that I can like use the storyline of. All right, so let's just use John Mayer
Okay, John Mayer.
or
yeah.
we can, or if you do you have somebody that's an easier storyline for me to use for an anecdote here.
Lil Nas X.
Not
Yeah.
really. Okay, all right, I'll just generalize. Here is what I would say. Here's what I would say
I'm
about
just saying,
somebody.
I'm just saying, all right, the musician that we're going to be talking about is a man
Shawn
who has
Mendes.
a guitar. He
All
plays
right,
the
a
guitar
man-
That is Shawn Mendes.
and he plays the piano and he sings and he writes his own music. Go.
Okay. So
and he's
so,
done everything.
Okay. So I would say, is there anybody in recent history in the last few years who with that type of music has been successful? Because the reality is the market is maybe not, because that person might be idolizing someone historical like Billy Joel, right? But the thing is if you're idolizing somebody who would not themselves be successful in today's market, then that's a mistake. I have a personal friend actually who romanticizes the past a lot and keeps trying to recapture the past, but the market today is so far removed from that I keep explaining to them that it's an effort in vain, and they kind of know that, but they can't help themselves. So the thing I would tell somebody is you can't make what you want work in a market that's incompatible with it. So the thing is, the dream or the goal that you have has to be something that is actually attainable within the bounds of reality. An example would be in my time when I was like between 6 years, 15 and 18, my dream and desire was to be an animator, and I wanted to do computer animation. Here's the problem. That was 20 years ago. You remember the technology we had 20 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how open source was almost non-existent and it was trash? And you remember how expensive software was today? Today, we have kids who complain about a free platform like YouTube. I didn't have a free platform. I had no way to make money online, no way to monetize. The internet was very poor. There was no broadband. There was no dial-up. It was physically impossible with the technology and resources and financial bandwidth I had of my time, and even internet bandwidth of my time, for me to ever hope to be a computer animator in any meaningful or successful way. It was impossible 20 years ago. But today, if somebody's 18 years old, there's a very an easy, straightforward path by comparison where they can make content, be paid for it, and have really affordable technology. You could get the tech you need to be successful in that today. Literally working Burger King or mowing lawns in the summer. You could do that. You could get the resources, and there's enough free, cheap, and available software, and you have platforms that you can distribute on, monetize on, get attention, and never even have to work for an animation studio or ever, quote unquote, sell out to the man. Same thing with music. Today with music, you actually might be in a worse position in music today if your dream is, I want to sign to this label and that label, because then you end up like Taylor Swift, where you end up having regrets and people hold your music for ransom. So today I would tell somebody, but that person would have to be willing to listen, of saying, let's look at artists who in the last few years made it as independents. Let's look at ways you can monetize your music today. Primary example, I today just monetized and just put out a track that I had ghost produced for me. Someone can literally use Alexa, Siri, Google, and just like literally say, play music by Roberto Blake, and they will get a song today. They'll get some nice lo-fi goodness, right? But if somebody's not willing to do that because they want to be a signed artist because that's making it and their parents will acknowledge that, then they won't necessarily succeed. But if they look at people who aren't even dedicated true musicians, but built a personal brand and got clout in social media and built a following and used that to elevate themselves. You have kids on YouTube who literally in the last 3 years out of nowhere went platinum versus people who've been playing their heart and soul out for 10 years and take music very seriously. And the difference is, it's not that those kids got lucky, it's that they were strategic and they used leverage. There are people who are not the greatest writers in the world, but they built a fan base and an audience that loves them and made them best-selling authors. And for the rest of their life, they will get to make the claim that they're best-selling authors. They're not necessarily the best writers in the world. So the thing is, people often romanticize how they want to get it done versus literally looking at the data. And here's the facts. You want to be a best-selling author, move like 5,000, 10,000 units of books in a week. It's a lot easier to do that if you have a massive and loyal, dedicated fan base that will pre-order your books, and you can promo the pre-orders for like 2 months up until your birthday and get all of these tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that are loyal to you to commit to buying your book. And if you put yourself in a category in like Amazon or something where there's less competition on your book, you may only need 1,000 true fans buying a couple of books to get you there and to do the pre-orders and to order it into their local bookstores. But somebody who's romantic as a writer may not feel that they should have to build a social media presence and that their writing should do it on its own. So they're romanticizing the methodology instead of just doing what would work as proven by the numbers and data and saying the ends justify the means. I will become a best-selling writer and I don't care how I get it done because I know that my work and my book deserves it. So whatever it takes to do it, I'll do it. And if that meant, okay, get some social media clout, I'll do it. If it meant run ads, I'll do it. I'll find the money. I'll save the money. I'll borrow the money. Do whatever it takes. And the difference between people is some people are so romantic or they have these quote unquote principles or romantic notions that stand between them and their goal. And when they complain about other people, the reality is those other people were willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, it's kind of like what people belittle and call selling out when it's really not. I mean, it's part of the art of it, right? It's the art of being able to sell yourself and as you said, leverage. It's being able to do what you need to do in order to put your work out there. It's, for example, like art. If you're an artist, for example, like a fine art painter, you can paint whatever you want. I mean, you went to school, you learned how to paint. You learned how to paint the vase with the flowers and the fruits and the whatnot. You learned how to paint a face. You learned how to paint an animal. Like, you can do all these different things. You went through the different periods. You learned abstract, contemporary, all the things. If you were an art major, you learned how to do all the different things. Now, if you go out of school and you start making all of these different things and they're all very beautiful, there's nothing that identifies you. There's nothing that makes you the artist that says, oh, I want to buy this person's art. Because why? Why would I buy your artwork if it looks like everybody else's artwork? If you can do it and everybody else that graduated with you can also do it, then what is the point of me getting your artwork? As opposed to actually coming up with a signature art piece. If you look at all of the artists
signature style.
Exactly. If you look at all of the artists who are successful, like you go to any hotel and you look at the paintings that are in hotel rooms, they all look the same. If you go to the next hotel room, it's going to look the same as your hotel room, the paintings that are in there. And the reason is because they have the same artist who's doing all of those paintings, because they've mastered a style that is generic but unique enough that they're able to sell it. And who cares? They just sold 150 paintings to the freaking Hilton, right? So who cares? They just sold all of those paintings to a hotel, and it doesn't matter if they're getting notoriety or not, because they can use that in order to grow something else, in order to grow the actual artwork that they want to do, or just to freaking do it, just to do it in their garage. Like, nobody has to see it. I think that's also the thing too. It's like deciding what what work of yours is going to be the work that's like the thing that gives you notoriety, and which is the thing that's going to give you income, because those might be two different things.
The market, what you want to make has nothing to do with what the market wants to consume, to buy.
Right.
What you, just like when we talk about YouTube, all right, what I want to make has nothing to do with what people want to watch. So why complain about the views then? You know, but if I make something knowing that there's a demand for it, then there's a reason to have an expectation there. And demand is kind of proven and kind of obvious in some ways, and it's not so obvious in others. And yeah, just because some people can make whatever they want and get views, well, good for them. Some people are also tall, so good for them. You know, like but for real though, you don't got any control over that. So why does it matter? It doesn't. The reality is it doesn't matter. There's it's funny.
If you keep working hard and you're not seeing any success and you're not changing up your input, then you're not going to get a different output. That's just it's just math.
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So if you've been working hard your whole life and you don't have the financial freedom that you want, you don't have the lifestyle that you want, that's not just, oh, the world is cruel and F you capitalism and all this nonsense and everything like that. That is a freaking you problem. That is a freaking you problem. And I'll tell you the truth about that. And it's harsh. It's harsh. But like, let's be very real. Let's be real. Let's be real about this. All right. Let's say that financial freedom for somebody represented having like millions of dollars in the bank. Let's say it represented having a certain amount of net worth. Let's just use a number. Let's use the number to retirement. Like, let's use the FIRE movement. The FIRE movement is a good example. The FIRE movement's a great example. This is what it is. People in the FIRE movement, which for those who may not know, and I'm obsessed with this, financial independence, retire early. Those people set a number for the amount of money that scientifically dictates, here's the amount of lifestyle they want, here's the amount of money that would cost for them to have a comfortable lifestyle every year if they retire at their target age, and the amount of money that they would need to live healthily for the rest of their life. So they literally set a fixed finite number for how much money they need to retire now to stop working a regular 40-hour-a-week job. They set that exact number. Then they reverse engineer that number, and then they set a window for how many more years they're going to actively work to be able to generate that number. And then they make and govern every aspect of their life, their spending, their savings, their investments, their retirement plans, their cost of living, everything that they do is in the service of that goal.
It's being like in the Olympics. It's like being in the Olympics, and it's deciding. Well, it's like being an 8-year-old kid deciding that at 12 years old you're going to compete in the Olympics. So your whole life revolves around nothing else. And it's you just have to train every single day, and that's just all. That's it. That's your life. And it's not easy. But to them, they've made a decision that it's absolutely worth it for that outcome. Right. And the thing about the FIRE movement too is that there's some people who, you look at them and you're like, oh man, like I could never live, with that much or this. And it's like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to live with that much. They've decided that they are going to live with that much money, and that's their goal, and they've achieved it. Like, that's just. But if they get different results than you by making different choices than you, then don't complain. Right. Exactly. And if they're 40 years old and they're retired and living the life and you're not, that's your problem. Right. I mean, it's not, it's very simple. But and I think too, it's like Romina, people are insisting that their hard work should always have some kind of continuity of an outcome. We all work hard, so why aren't we all rich and successful? We all don't work hard at the same things, and we all don't have. I liked the thing that you had pointed out something. I think it's something you said, that opportunity is distributed evenly and talent isn't. Yeah. Like, that's real. Mm-hmm. That's real. If there are but to be very frank, there's probably, you will never find, I think it's a very simple way of putting it. There's good actors and there's bad actors. How did that happen? Why do we have good actors and bad actors? It's not a matter that it's really first of all, it's being at the right place at the right time, but it's also being at the right place at the right time because you walked over to the right place at the right time.
Being at the right place at the right time is irrelevant, because if I literally have $5,000 burning in my pocket and I said I have $5,000 for freelancers for the month, and that's like my budget, and it's like, if you want to absorb this entire budget, explain to me the $5,000 in value that you can create. Because see, here's the thing. Everybody wants my $5,000, Romina. Everyone wants me to take $5,000 and hand it to them. What not everyone wants to do or is capable of doing is giving me back something that is truly worth that 5,000 to me, and that they know, if they're being honest, if they're being genuine, if they're being ethical, that they know that, you know what, I worked in proportion to that $5,000. And my guilt or lack of guilt in taking it is not associated with how I feel about Roberto, but how I feel about the work that I did and the value that I provided, and that I would feel comfortable telling people that I got paid that for what I delivered, and that I could hold my head high on that, and that I would show the work that I did, and would not feel like I'm going to take unfair criticism and saying you were overpaid or this or that, and that's real. There's no one has, I don't think people have, what's the phrase I'm looking for? No one takes pride in their work or in their work ethic anymore. That's the phrase I'm looking for.
Here's the thing too, is that you're talking about the $5,000, and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about Nadine, hey Nadine.
Yeah,
so,
homie of mine.
So Nadine, she helped a friend of hers.
Her and Matt are so cute together. I'm so happy for them.
She helped a friend of hers who said that she wanted to get into travel vlogging and all the stuff. She organized a whole press trip with her and her friend, got her onto a press trip, showed her the ropes, helped her with her channel, helped her, got her onto a free press trip with being a nobody. She basically held her hand to cross the street, and nothing came of it. And it's just kind of this kind of thing is if you have to accept that you are just, you have to walk the walk sometimes. And I think that
all right, I'll put it harshly.
Yes.
There are people who want an extraordinary life for the mediocre crap that they're putting out.
Right.
That they're doing in their life.
Yeah.
There are people who want to eat trash every day but have washboard abs. There are people who want to not be the best at anything, but think that they deserve to be comfortable and to be millionaires or to be rock stars or to make six figures, not even be millionaires, but they are not exceptional at anything, nor do they aspire to be exceptional of anything. They don't have 10,000 hours committed to a goddamn thing except watching other people who've already made it.
These are the people who want potpourri to be as popular as dried leaves in their front lawn. This is not, you don't get potpourri by just having a tree in your front yard. That's not how it works. You have to put in the work. I mean, it's just how it is. And this is kind of a it takes away a little bit from the reward of actually when you're getting there. I feel like so much of what I have attained and the successes that I've had have been meaningful because of the work that I've put into them. Without the work and without the years of suffering and grueling and sacrifices, because so many that's the thing too, Roberto, is people don't make sacrifices. Yes. People just don't make sacrifices. And I think that's really, it comes down to not taking risks, because the people who make it big, Elon Musk, he didn't freaking make it where he is. He didn't just launch a rocket ship last week because he didn't take risks. He's there because he took risks. So, that it's risks. It's willing to take risks. It's willing to sacrifice, and it's willing to challenge yourself and put yourself out there and actually do the freaking work. I mean,
I haven't told this story. I slept on a cot for over a year working in New York, saving as much money as I could from my paycheck, living with a relative for over a year and a half, like no privacy, no real space of my own. I slept on a cot in the living room for over a year to save up the money, and working in New York at the ad agency in Manhattan. And when I came back home to North Carolina at the time, because my mom was sick and she was getting ready to lose the house, I took the majority of all the money that I'd saved after paying, by the way, after also getting myself out of credit card debt that was also I got myself into to help my family. And I was able to take care of my mom and my siblings and get a house, rent a house, not buy, because I took everything that I'd worked for over a year, basically, for the most part. And after, by the way, going back and working in North Carolina after being successful in New York, leaving a job where my boss was willing to increase my salary, offer me plane tickets to go back and visit my family, and was willing to help me get into my own apartment, was offering me everything I could want. And I said no. And I was successful in New York. I could have stayed in New York, the place where everything happens. I moved back to North Carolina, took everything I had, and helped my family. Worked at a company where I was like, in a lot of cases, I had to put up with some casual racism. I was never truly acknowledged for my contributions to the company. Made the company millions upon millions of dollars, revolutionized the marketing department that I took over. Is so good at what I did, and I'm not exaggerating, that we literally 10x'd the advertising budget for Google alone because I managed the money better than anybody ever had. And I still wasn't the chief marketing officer. The chief marketing officer was somebody who was going to work at the bicycle shop, but got the job above me, babysitting me, because he was a fellow soldier and it was a veteran-owned company. No disrespect to the troops, but he didn't get the job on merit. I did his job. He got a higher pay grade and was in charge of me, and I was doing his damn job. And the only reason he got his job was because, you know, he had leadership capability. He wanted to work at a bicycle shop and ultimately become a park ranger, which he did go on to become a park ranger. But he had no marketing acumen, no marketing background, and he couldn't do the job. I did his job, and I didn't get to take the full credit for that. And when I decided I wanted out, I spent a year, Romina, of even more trash mental health, plotting my exit from my job, side hustling on my nights and weekends, like relentlessly, turning down my friends, had a breakup over how much like I was doing everything in my power to spend all of my time on anything that I could to make money. And ultimately, it came down to, I'd had my resignation written up, and it was a fire me or I quit. And it's not like I had the money really, really saved to have like that 3 or 6 months of runway that you would hope to have. But I was out, and that was that. And so, but I had been working for a year to plan my escape. So I had clients, I had a portfolio, I had a body of work. I had built my personal brand in place, the foundations of it anyway, and I was immediately able to move into working on my own shit. And this was like more than, I think, like 8 years ago or something like that. And like this is like back in the early days when social media was in its infancy, kind of. And ultimately, while doing all of that, I still took on part-time work. I did all kinds of little side jobs, any menial thing I could do to make money while also trying to make the internet happen. And I did it. When people talk about, well, luck, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. What I did was I had bad luck time after time after time, and I made the most of it. I made my damn sacrifices. I got on with it. And almost everyone I know who is truly successful, with a very few exceptions, they didn't get handouts. They didn't, like, no one made them. Like, everything they did was earned. And being in the right place at the right time doesn't mean anything if you can't deliver. because I've tried, Romina, to give people opportunities and they've like failed or let me down at every turn, or I've went and stuck out my neck to get people opportunities only to have people come back and told me that the person did it half-assed or didn't even show up. And so people are like,
I've had
I just
that
need
happen to
like
me too.
opportunity.
I've actually directly hired people. I've directly hired friends because they were trying to get out of something, or like, you know, just the same old story. Like, oh, I'm just like, I'm not getting hired, or like all this stuff. I'm trying to do this, like everything's, you know, F you to the man, and like all this stuff. And I have employed friends. I've given them work, like with money, right? And still, it's like they come back to me with either like half-assed work, or like the attitude is like they don't really want to be there, or they don't have anything to contribute. And I'm like, well, why I mean, I hired you because I knew you, because you were a friend and I'm trying to help you. But why would anybody hire you?
Exactly.
I mean, if you're doing this kind of work for me, for someone who knows you, oh my God, what are you going to do with someone who doesn't know you? Some random person who hired you off of Upwork or LinkedIn? Like like what are they how are they going to react to that? It's like, it's no wonder that you're not working. It's no wonder that you've gotten nowhere. It's not, you know, it's because it's not that you're not working hard enough, is that you're just not good enough. You're just not doing the work that's required.
When I was a kid, it hurt my feelings all the time that a lot of times I would get picked last in sports, but I was short, skinny, nearsighted, and at the time, mostly uncoordinated. It was completely justified to pick me effing last. I deserved to be picked last. It wasn't that I'm not worthwhile as a human being, which everyone likes to throw in people's face. So what? Like, everyone's worthwhile as a human being. So what? Your human value is in debate here. Your economic value, or your value to the cause, or your contribution to the cause, or to the goal, or to the agenda, or to the victory is what is in debate. Not your value as a person, not your value as a human being, not how wonderful or lovely you are, not that you deserve kindness or sympathy, but it's not going to come at the expense of other people's victories. And if you think it should, you're full of it. You're full of it. Nobody should be willing to take a loss so you can feel better. You know what? They're not, I'm sorry, they're not your freaking, they're not your mommy, they're not your daddy and everything. They're not there to rub your belly or pat you on the head and tell you good, like that a boy, that a girl, or ever, and validate your effing feelings. People are there to win, and you need to understand that they are not wrong or selfish to put their goals, their ambitions, and their self-interest above validating your effing feelings and how you feel miserable today. And if you want to feel good about yourself, I'll tell you what you do, Johnny. I'll tell you exactly what you do. You align the things that are going to validate you to being in the service of others and the attainment and achievement of what they want and their goals. You make yourself effing useful, and good things actually happen. You make yourself useful, and good things actually happen.
Speaking of validating,
other people decide what's useful to them and what is valuable to them.
Of validating my feelings, it would really validate my feelings if Audrey would give her 2 cents.
I wanted that too.
I'm sorry, but my background is a little bit noisy today. I don't know if you can hear that.
I don't hear anything right now. Okay, all I hear is that you haven't said anything. Can we get some input from you?
There's been a lot of doors.
Okay, well, it's done now. Tell us.
Oh my God. What I mean,
Audrey, 2020.
Really interesting to listen to you guys, because I mean, okay, I agree with like all that you guys were saying. I think that I get so many messages, and it's of people being like, specifically around YouTube, that nothing's happening, or complaining. I'm like, well, sometimes it's kind of obvious to me sometimes when. For example, someone will send me a DM like that. I got one this morning. That's why I'm thinking about it. And they asked for YouTube advice. And I was like, fine, I'll go look. And they have like 2 videos on their channel. And I was like, well, of course, like you literally have posted 2 videos and they're like random vlogs. So what do you think? Like, what is this like expectation? I responded being like DM me again when you posted like 20 or something at least, please. Like, this is not like, I feel like that attitude happens a lot, and there's no really getting around it. Just kind of, I don't know, it just happens.
Yeah, DM me when you get to 100 videos.
Yeah, like tell me again, like, when you've posted at least for 2 months, because you've only posted 2 videos and this is your first month and you're wondering why you haven't blown up. I
They're
haven't blown
asking
up
for
I've been posting for like
validation.
5 years, dude.
They're asking
Like,
for
I don't-
validation at the start of the race.
I know. Yeah, but that happens all the time.
You mean a participation trophy?
Yeah.
Yeah, but even then, Roberto, you get those when you finish the race.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's true.
You don't just get it just because you stepped in front of the...
I tried. Oh, hey, I showed up.
I tried. I showed up.
I showed up. I mean, I feel like this is controversial. Small YouTubers
Showing
don't like
up
when I
is
say
only
this.
half of the work, guys.
This is controversial. Small YouTubers don't like when I say this. YouTube should have made the threshold for monetizing a channel 5,000 subscribers and 5,000 hours of watch time.
Ooh.
Hey guys, give us a thumbs up on this video, please. Oh, also leave us 5 stars. Leave us some reviews.
But I'll tell you why. It would have clarified the purity of intention. It would have clarified the purity of intention, because a lot of people come to YouTube in bad faith because they think it's quick and easy money, and they literally think that YouTube's a get rich quick scheme. But if the barrier to that was discouraging to people, then the thing is, it means they didn't have a pure motive. Because I even talked to people about this. Remember when YouTube started running the ads on channels that are small and not monetized, and people are like, well, I'm going to delete my content then, or I'm not going to post anymore. I'm not going to do this, and screw YouTube and blah, blah, blah. And they're so greedy. It's literally 1/10 of a cent per view. And they're like, and fine, why can't they give it to us? But I'm like, you're missing the point. You want to delete your content or not post, or you're getting discouraged. And that means that that 1/10 of a cent per view is more important than you to whatever your video can do for a viewer watching. True. And that's the difference between the purity of intent behind making a video and making a video for the right reasons. And I would rather weed out and disqualify anybody who is going to be discouraged because they're not getting 1/10 of a penny per view, instead of thinking about what the viewer is going to get by watching their video, and about the potential of what could happen if somebody watches their video and gets emotionally invested in them and cares enough about them. The value that relationship is worth should be more valuable to you than the 1/10 of a cent that you might get per view from YouTube. And the way I came up with the 1/10 of a penny is I have one of the best CPMs, one of the best RPMs, one of the best monetization rates in YouTube. And I did the math, and I get a penny per view. And I get sometimes 10 times more than the average entertainment channel does. So it's 1/10 of a penny per view. It's literally 1/10 of a cent per view. And that's what people are mad about, instead of caring about their audience more. So I'd rather weed out every single person that is going to think that way. And I'd rather they not upload. I'd rather they not be part of the community. I'd rather they not try. And that sounds harsh, and that sounds ugly, and but I'm like, and not because I'm afraid to compete with people at all. It's that I want people to do things for the right reason. And if you're so invested in 1/10 of a penny more than the relationship with the potential audience that you could have for free, you're in this for the wrong reason, especially when every other platform uses your content, runs ads, and doesn't pay you. And no one's sitting here beating down the doors of Instagram and yelling at Instagram, and they don't even pay creators at all. Tumblr didn't pay creators. Twitter runs ads and stuff like that, and they don't pay creators. And every platform, with the exception of Facebook, and freaking Facebook and TikTok, make you have 10,000 followers. But again, because YouTube feels accessible, and because once upon a time they did let everyone in, it created this entitlement. And I feel that free platforms in general, as much as I love them and love open source, it's created this demonization of anything that you have to pay to play for, or that you have to make sacrifices for, or that you have to earn. And I'm like, what happened to taking pride in your work? What happened to paying your dues? No one's prepared to do that anymore. Everyone thinks that they should automatically qualify, and they're so upset that there's qualifiers. When we, like, Romina, you and I grew up in a world where real gatekeepers exist. This is a joke. You and I grew up in a world where no one could have a book unless a pretentious group of literally 2,000 people decided whether or not like you were going to be able to be published. Because like there's 2,000 editors and approval people at the major publishing houses altogether. There's like a very small elitist community among these publishing houses, and they get to decide who gets to ever put author in their title forever. And that was the world you and I grew up in. You and I grew up in a world where nothing could be made in terms of videos and taken seriously and ever reach millions of people unless it passed through the approval in the hands of 5,000 people in the industry. There's like 5,000 gatekeepers in the industry. And if you don't please or appease the right combination of 2 or 3 of these people, you will never work in the industry ever. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the world you and I grew up in most of our lives, with real gatekeepers, and people are complaining about meeting requirements and meeting very minimal thresholds to and that's not even a barrier to them being able to try. That's a barrier to them being able to be compensated, where you and I know that there are plenty of people who actually literally in Hollywood and in New York and in all these places, literally to even get in the door, they literally work their ass off for free. And people are mad that they get free hosting and don't get paid for putting up content nobody asked them for.
Right.
When there are people literally out there busting their hump, fetching coffee every day to be allowed to try.
Speaking of trying, I'm going to try to read this review that we got. I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. And so this is from one of our viewers, and this was left on Podchaser. If you can, guys, leave us a review on Apple. That would help us out. That's where the majority of our reviews are.
How are you finding these?
But, all right, guys, this is from one of our viewers, Michael. He says, guys, this podcast is honestly really amazing. If you like casual conversation and feeling like you're one of the homies, this is the podcast for you. I don't know how they do it, but every time I'm feeling down or starting to suffocate in my own anxieties throughout the week, I get the notification for the live show on YouTube, and it brightens my entire week. All 3 of these guys are kind-hearted, intelligent, and very creative, which allows them to see the world from a perspective that inspires peace, happiness, and growth. And I couldn't be happier to know them and have a chance to interact directly so often. Keep it up, guys. Day 1 viewer.
Inspires
Love you, Mike.
peace.
Thank you.
Love you, Mike.
Thank you.
Inspires peace is a pretty good tagline.
Yeah, we inspire peace, guys. That's
amazing, actually.
We inspire peace. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Love and peace. Love and peace. Let me see something.
But really, guys, if you leave us a review, we'll read it.
For real, though.
Only if it's good. If it's a bad review, we probably won't read it.
No,
we might read it. I'll let Audrey read the bad ones.
I'll read the bad ones.
As long as you give us 5 stars. You can leave us a bad review, just give us 5 stars.
Hey, Romina and Audrey,
what's up?
You know how people say, like, let's circle back, and I got a few more minutes as well, to like this whole, working hard, not getting anywhere. The specifics people talk about usually have to do with money and finances and everything like that. I did some interesting math. My favorite app is the compound interest calculator, right?
I love the compound interest calculator.
Okay, so let's say, because people who are very anti-capitalistic, people are anti-capitalistic always. People who are anti-capitalistic always hit me with the
Grinch.
if there's no.
Sorry, continue.
They try to say that there's no proven or documented path to success, and I disagree. It's actually called math. Any goal, any outcome you can want to achieve can be reduced to a mathematical formula and equation. And the best thing about money is that it ruthlessly is predicated on this and the principle of compound interest. And if you don't believe compound interest works, well, how do you think that all of the greedy, predatory lending companies that give out these student loans made their money? The power of compound interest. So if you believe in the greedy, like corporatist, like, agenda and everything like that, then you should absolutely believe that, well, why aren't you playing that game? And that sounds harsh, but like, here's my point with that. Maxing out your Roth IRA every year would require you to put away $500 a month, which is definitely a sacrifice, but let's also be real. $500 a month would mean making an extra $18 a day every day. So you can figure this out with the time that you spend on social media, Netflix, any number of things. You literally can go find a gig on Fiverr that's like $25 every day and make the money to max out your Roth IRA without taking any more money out of your pocket to change your lifestyle.
Or pre-COVID, which also is hopefully post-COVID.
You could do side hustles, gig. Craigslist, a weekend gig.
Yeah, you just find something, help somebody move some boxes, get paid $100.
Oh yeah, that's like, I used to do that all the time. I used to make this kind of money, like the kind of money we're talking about per month. I used to make this kind of money as a teenager, back when it was harder to make $500 because like the value of a dollar was different back then. But like, you have to remember, when hurricanes or storms would come through, I used to go out and I used to move yard debris like for an entire weekend. And in an entire weekend, I'd make like $150 as a kid, like all cash, by the way, like, because that's what happens when you literally just spend every day, every hour of a Saturday and Sunday from sun up to sundown as a kid, just doing odd jobs and cleaning up yards. Like whether it's raking leaves, moving stuff and everything like that, helping move branches, debris, all that stuff, water damaged stuff. Like you can make really good money. And that's as a kid. So as an adult, you can absolutely do this. And then there's obviously gig work and internet work. I know people who make this as extra side money doing Uber and Grubhub and stuff like that after they do their day job. People just aren't willing to sacrifice, like we said. But here's the thing. So Romina, just doing $500 extra a month and putting it aside, whether you put it in your Roth IRA, which is what I'd recommend for the tax purposes, or if you just wanted to put it into a safe index fund to grow at a reasonable 12% rate, which is conservative because you guys have seen my portfolios, the way I'd invest, I get more than 12%. I get closer to like, over 25, but it's immodest to say anything over 25 because it's hard to repeat, but like we've seen my portfolios. So the thing that I would say is the compound interest on that over 27 years is $1.2 million. Like, it's insanity how compound interest works if you invest properly. If you went into growth stocks, you'd obviously do even better than that. But this is how people in the FIRE movement do it, Romina, is they find a calculation like this and then they say, well, how much more money do I have to put aside to retire sooner? And that's how they do it. So the thing is, there's a timeline where you just do that. And so you want to be a millionaire, it literally would come down to invest in index funds, max out your Roth IRA, and then any extra money that you get, you would invest it instead of spend it. You don't buy a new TV. You don't buy a new watch. You don't buy a new iPhone. You put it in the market.
What about that board I want?
Do some extra side hustle, or get someone to give it to you as a gift, or get someone to gift it to you.
But it's Christmas. What if I want to gift it to myself?
I'm the Grinch. See, I'm stealing your Christmas. I'm coming for it.
Albert Einstein says, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it.
Ding, 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 ding. That's exactly it. You are correct. You are correct, madam. You're correct, madam. Here's another interesting example of this, by the way. Because this seems so unrealistic for people. I did an actual experiment with this in M1 Finance. I last year did an experimental portfolio in M1 Finance where I put $500 into the market. And I just invested in only 4 companies. I invested in the tech Illuminati. I only invested in the companies that had $1 trillion market cap. And the results are in. On a $500 investment, I made $520. So I invested, I made $220. So I turned $500 into $720 in a year doing nothing. I literally got about, according to this chart, I made like almost 50% of my money back based on the averages, because like Apple did so well that like you can average that my gains there outstrip my gains.
I mean, my point is kind of like I talked about this in our group message a
Yeah.
couple days ago about the Tesla stuff, where
Yeah.
people were telling me, wow, Tesla, this is too expensive. What are you doing? Don't do that. Well, I did it, and within a month, I doubled my
Romina,
profit.
can you imagine if we had held on to Shopify stock when we bought it at 800?
I bought it at less than $100.
Can you imagine if you had held?
I did. I sold the last bit of it. I had a fraction left this month.
Uh-huh.
I just sold it two weeks ago.
Oh,
So
okay.
so I made some decent profit off of it.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I didn't hold on to it anymore is because I don't believe that it's going to grow any more than it has now. At least not in the next.
It will.
Not in the next. I mean, well, but I've had Shopify for 3 years now, almost 4. So it was kind of just like, I've had it for long enough, and I really don't feel like it's going to grow anymore.
I believe this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. So I'm of the belief that Shopify will reach the same valuation as Amazon.
As Amazon? See, I kind of thought about that, but I feel like it's just like at this point, I feel like I didn't, because of when I invested. Again, this is like the beginning of my investment career. So I wasn't able to invest in it as much.
I know. Yeah.
Right. And so it's not like it wouldn't have really been that much. And I feel like I'd rather sell it and invest
and
in
take
new
a profit
companies now.
Yeah, exactly. Get in on something else. I agree.
Right.
I did something similar. I took my profits on stuff. I regret I bought AMD back at like 18.
Mhm.
I wish that I bought more and I'd held. But I'm back in now, very high, obviously.
Right.
I got in low in another portfolio of mine, but not as much as like if I had put all of my money into the experimental portfolio stuff that I do with either the Top Tech or the Tech and Illuminati, because in both of these I did over 40% returns, but I couldn't have known I would do over 40. That's why it was an experiment. It was that, what are my instincts? Like, how good are my instincts? I was testing my instincts. I have another small portfolio. What if I told you I had a portfolio that was another experiment where I turned $200 into over $400? And by the way, I'm not telling people that they can do that. I'm like,
no, of course.
And I'm not.
I mean, this is like, I mean, they can, but it's you have to do.
This would be. It would shock me. It would shock me if anyone did, because I'm like, I couldn't have. If I had known that it would work, I would have obviously put all my money into it. But it's like,
oh yeah, I mean, hello, me too.
All right, Viacom
with Shopify. If only. Audrey, how are you on your investment career? What's going on in that?
I need to get into that, I guess.
Young Ember, we will talk.
You've been saying this. All right. Is this something that we will discuss?
I downloaded an app, but I don't use
Should we discuss this next
week? Yeah, let's do it next week.
Not discussing financial advice. We're not going to be giving any kind of financial advice. We don't want
It'll be for entertainment purposes only.
Entertainment purposes. And just talking to Audrey about kind of her aspirations. So if you want to tune in next Thursday, or maybe not next Thursday, I don't know. We don't know when we're going to do it yet. Follow us on Twitter.
It might be Thursday's Christmas Eve. I mean, if you guys want to do a holiday show,
or it might be Friday. Well,
we'll figure it out. No, Friday's Christmas.
We'll forget. Yeah, guys, follow us on Twitter. We are at No Assembly Pod on Twitter. So follow us there for any updates on what we are going to go live next week, since we've got the holiday stuff going on. But definitely next week, we're going to be doing a little deep dive, asking Audrey what her investment goals are, what her dreams are, her aspirations. So if you want to listen to that, tune in.
Sometimes I have an instinct about things, and but I don't trust my instincts just because it feels like gambling. But I don't trust my instincts. But let me put it to you like this. I bought Viacom at $14. It's currently at $36. I bought Macerich at $5.18. It's currently at $11.17. I bought Fuel Cell Energy at $8.50. It's at $8.78 right now. I bought Plug Power at $24. It's at $30.60. I bought Arlo Technologies at $6.45. It's at $8.34. So if we look at my returns on these companies, 151% return, 115% return, 290% return, 2.65% return, 27.63% return, 29.30% return. That's insanity. That's insanity. But I don't trust my instincts because, again, it feels like gambling. But the thing is, I'm actually really educated because I only invest in financial, the energy sector, technology, and consumer goods, like e-commerce. I only invest in things that I kind of am very educated about, and I just happen to be educated about a certain amount of things because of how much money I've had to spend on those things. Like, because my financial, like, my portfolio is predicated on the thesis that if I've spent $10,000 on a company or in a sector in my lifetime, I should be holding significant stock in that sector or in that company. Like, it's a no-brainer for me to say, oh, I've spent how much money on Apple just this year? I should match my Apple spending for the year with my investment in Apple for my portfolio for the year. So, like, every year I'm going to dump thousands of dollars into Apple because I'm already buying from them every year. Same thing for Adobe, Facebook for my ads, Nvidia.
I've been doing the same thing. Well, that's actually why I invested in Shopify in the first place, was because I was using Shopify for my store and my products that I was launching. And back then I saw the potential of what Shopify would become. And back then I wasn't even reading anything. Like, I
as a streamer, and now that I'm in the music game, Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify. Yeah. There's it's a little bit of just following your instincts and also just kind of
validating them with data.
Validating them. Yeah. It's kind of seeing where the trends are going. Following the market.
But that's the thing, just like we talked about, people don't succeed because they're conflating, they attack other people and saying, and I love this line, by the way, from Yang, we need to separate economic value from human value, but they put an asterisk on that for except when people are richer than me, right? And they also, they refuse to do that when it comes to what their participation in the market is. And they won't say, it's like, we're not questioning your value as a human being. We're saying we're not going to attach a dollar amount to just giving you this money just because. We are separating your economic value from human value. Like how I feels like about somebody as a human being is not a justification for me paying them a certain amount of money. The work that they do is a justification for me paying them a certain amount of money. Their lifestyle, their problems, the things going on in their life, I might feel a certain way about that as a human being or even as somebody's friend. But I shouldn't let that be a reason for me to pay them more, or even frankly, in some cases, to elevate them or give them an opportunity over somebody more qualified. Because people only hate nepotism when it doesn't work for them. They will talk about rich people, privileged people, people born into money or into family dynasties, but if a favor or an opportunity comes their way and it means that they have to skip over somebody that they know is more qualified or more experienced or has earned their place, they don't turn it down out of principle. But they think other people who have it better than them should. They don't apply a standard. They will insist that a standard apply to everybody and that we all be treated fairly and equally, but they don't actually believe in that because they will use their disadvantage or underprivileged situation as a justification for why rules should be bent for them. And that I disagree with, because I think if you want meritocracy, you want it unilaterally across the board, unless we're going to accept that, the person who has the ability to grant a favor or to grant access or to grant resources or to offer a job opportunity has the right and the privilege, and it's fine for them to grant it to who they want, regardless of merit. Because the thing is, if you were granted an opportunity regardless of merit, you wouldn't dare turn it down on principle and say, give that job opportunity to somebody who deserves it more, because you would decide that your need justifies you taking advantage of this opportunity. And you would probably also look at other people who got things that they didn't necessarily deserve and use that as a rationalization. We all pretend to be more principled than we are, but all we do is make rationalizations that are convenient to our circumstances. And we don't own that. And if you want to get somewhere and you're wondering why your hard work hasn't gotten you where you want. One, I would challenge you on, do you know where you want to be? Have you figured that out? And is it some abstract BS, or did you put an actual tangible number to that financially or in an attainment of a goal? If you said, let's take money out of it. Let's say you wanted to be a YouTuber and you said, I want a gold play button. I want 1 million subscribers. If you are not doing the things that people in your niche and genre have done and have replicated the success or the common things across those people, the things that are common to those people that have over 1 million, and you're not raising your standards to the standards of someone who has 1 million subscribers versus 0 subscribers or 1,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers, if you play the game like a small YouTuber, you will be a small YouTuber. If you play the game like a big YouTuber, there will be people who will say, wow, you deserve more subscribers than this because your stuff is of equal value or quality, or your stuff is just as good as this bigger person. So why you should have that. And they will fight for and advocate for you to have that. They will help you get that. They will be part of the journey. People who have that will notice and say, wow, your stuff is just as good as any of ours. Like, you know, and guess what? Because that's how it happens. It's not an accident. It's not luck. It's not favoritism when the people winning are homogenous and there's a pattern and it's congruent, and it's not luck that's randomly dispersed amongst people who have nothing in common. You can't say it's luck. It's not luck. Like that. And if luck exists, and if luck exists, its weight is like the smallest amount of, like, all right, let's say luck plays a factor in success. In your success score, like your credit score, luck would be the same value ratio as your credit mix. It'd be the lowest valued thing. It'd be worth 10% of the whole enchilada. In a credit score, like 35% of your credit is your payment history, and the other is your debt ratio, is like your percentage of utilized credit is like another 30 and stuff like that. And then after that, I believe your credit age is like worth 15. And then after that, your inquiries are 10, your credit mix is 10. So like luck is like your amount of credit inquiries on your credit report. It's not that significant. It's like worth 10% of the whole enchilada. You should really be focused on the things that are worth 30 and 35%, a lot more, and the thing that's worth 15%, a lot more. You should focus on the other 90% of things. And people refuse to focus on the 90% of things.
Because it requires taking a risk and sacrificing.
But also being specific about what the goal, like, I wanted Audrey Romina. Remember how long I've been talking about wanting an 800 credit score, and every ridiculous thing I did to get an 800 credit score without buying a house?
Right. Yeah.
People don't want to do that.
No. Yeah.
Like I had to literally over the years, I guarantee you, over the years, in the phone calls I had to make to be able to get things on my credit cleared up that were actual legit mistakes and things like that, I had to spend probably over the years like 150 hours on the phone, and I probably spent 200 hours in research.
Yeah, people don't do the work on that end either. I mean, they just kind of expect the system to just do it for them, and it's like, no, you know how many people are in the system? There's a they're not going to be there cleaning up after your mess or somebody else's mess. They're just not going to do it. So you have to be conscious of the trails that you leave behind and figure out how you're going to clean it up, and figure out how you can get somebody else to clean it up for you. But they're just not going to do it unless you tell them to. It's just not going to happen. So you have to be on top of those things, and you have to make those phone calls, and you have to put in the work in order to do that. Nobody else is going to do it for you.
And the thing is, when successful people say that, Romina, or people who are like, then they're like, well, then you like help me for free. They insist upon, if you're so smart or you're so good or your thing can be duplicated, but it's like, but that's still, again, another sense of entitlement of like, why would that happen?
Pay me $500 and I will call one credit card for you.
Like there's a, like, that's funny. But I'm serious in the sense of this. I'm serious in the sense of like,
Mm.
people are insistent that their circumstances should be changed while requiring them to do nothing, and that other people's have a moral obligation to change their circumstances and to put more effort, more weight, and more resources into it than they themselves have, because like the people will not accept that their morality, they're moralistic, and this is why I'm anti-moralism. I'm not immoral. It's that I'm anti-moralism, because moralism is like fundamentally flawed from a logical standpoint, in the sense of people will not accept that their moral framework is what benefits me is good and what is to my detriment is evil. And that's really a simplistic view of the world, but that is the simplistic view of the world they have that has led to the rise of things like being anti-capitalistic versus being pro-humanity, pro-compassion,
things that lead to censorship,
things
that lead to cancel culture,
empowerment. I would rather
Audrey's like, what is happening right now?
I'm for building people. I don't think you have to tear down everything that exists that you don't like.
Audrey's like,
because
I just
you
want to
didn't
share
win at it.
old people emojis.
But I'm serious. I'm like, I don't think you have to tear down or eliminate a game that you were bad at and that you lost at in order for us to say, well, let's help build you up and let's find something that you're actually good at and something that you can win at. That's literally like someone saying, well, if I can't play basketball, basketball should be illegal. Basketball, if I can't qualify to play basketball, well, if I can't be a runway model because I'm short, then nobody should enjoy runway modeling, and runway modeling has to change or it's evil. Like, that's completely ridiculous and absurd.
If you don't
but that's
like
the culture
don't
we
watch
have.
the game.
But that's the culture we've created now, to where, think about it, people want to burn down YouTube and Google because they're failed YouTubers. People want to get the government to
Let them try it.
People want to get the government to go and attack these companies because they suck at using these free platforms, or because they can't abide on these platforms by the rules.
I have a perfect example for this, because I actually tweeted out something today, which was rather timely because I didn't plan this. This was in my buffer queue, which was something to the effect of, I asked people, what is the hardest thing that you're facing right now towards accomplishing your dream career?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a number of people who said a couple things that I was like, I feel like there's an easy solution for this. And so I responded back.
Can you give me an example?
Well, there was one guy who was a trainer. And by the way, like, if anybody is listening, like, I'm totally not trash talking any of the people who comment.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're having a conversation. I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, all of the people who responded to this tweet so far, I think, are my followers, and they're all very nice people. But
great.
One person said, so the question was, what's the hardest part about following your dream career right now? This person said, lockdowns, social distance, lack of government financial support. Pretty hard being a personal trainer just now. And so I wrote back and I was like, do you have an online course, an ebook, a podcast? So I listed all these ideas of what you could do.
A YouTube channel that's monetized.
Right. Well, they have a YouTube channel. I don't know if they actually post to it. I think they have a YouTube channel. I don't know much about this person, but these were just ideas that I threw out there.
Because I have like 4 clients that are in that space that are like crushing.
Right. And I listed these things because I think, well, first of all, I just assume that the majority of the people who follow me have some kind of YouTube channel. So I went ahead and said online course, because I figure, hey, you don't actually need to have an audience to make money off of an online course. You can actually start making money right now.
If you have a business like that and you have a social media following, the reality is that you have a following that's probably from all over the world, not your local area.
Right.
There's a business here in Atlanta. You guys might be familiar with them. Just Add Honey. They're a loose tea shop. Mm-hmm. And with COVID, they shut down their second location, and yet they're doing better than ever because they ended up embracing and not doing their Shopify halfway. They really went full on. They really stepped up their Instagram game. They did so much. They started a podcast. They did everything to leverage their online presence in a time when they couldn't do anything else. And with the e-commerce side, they also went and started pursuing not just customers but B2B and shipping loose tea to companies that were still doing things or wanted to give them out to gifts to their employees and things like that, and they set that up. So like they expanded in COVID. They got creative and they outworked other people who didn't do that.
Most of the businesses that I've read about who have adapted and who had changed their business model in the past few months because of the circumstances have more than tripled their profits, which is interesting. But the reason that I brought up the tweet was because it's a great example of asking people what their problem is and seeing that a lot of people will list a problem that
external.
That is external. But I can immediately rebut it by just giving some examples of things to do. And it's not to say that he's going to become a millionaire overnight by doing ebooks and podcasts, but it's a start of something that can help him to pay bills, and he can start creating. I put it as an example is if you
gave practical advice.
Right. If you don't create products, then what are the customers supposed to buy?
And what are people buying right now? Because again, let's look at market demand. There was online content increased by over 80%. Digital consumption, record sales with regard to online shopping, record Black Friday sales during a pandemic. I know a lot of people are mad that billionaires got rich during the pandemic. It wasn't just billionaires that made money and made profit during the pandemic. It was anybody who sold things and didn't require physical in-person transactions. And it was anybody whose income was not labor based, but leveraged based, and deciding that the way you make income is leverage versus labor is also a choice. And I know a lot of people don't like to acknowledge that. A lot of people resent when I say that. But if you've looked at the labor-based economy literally over the last decade, you should have seen the writing on the wall. Like, I'm not trying to get political, but, a lot of people have a lot of theories about why Donald Trump became president. And he became president partly because of the frustration and disenfranchisement with people whose income was labor-based and them seeing their economic futures shrink and shrink and shrink. And their solution was to find somebody who would fight to roll back the clock and give them a version of reality that they were comfortable with. Instead of changing themselves, they sought that change to come from without, and they wanted to use government to enact change at scale, which is always, in my opinion, a doomed proposition. It's the fastest expedient route in some people's mind, but it's actually really not, because there's no legislation. And if you've been waiting on a stimulus check, you know this. There's no legislation that's going to move faster than you can. Like when it comes to enacting real change in your life, immediate change in your life, the people around you, your friends and family, have more influence over what happens to you than the federal government. The state government has more influence than that. Your local city and municipal government has more influence than that. And your immediate household, friends and families and neighbors have more influence over your life than that. Your direct employer has more influence over your life than that. So when it comes to enacting change, the fastest thing is you, and then the next external source is everyone around you. And you need to be really thoughtful and really mindful of that. And that's why your immediate circle, your friends, your family, your network, think about the fact that, let's say everything else economically was going right in your life, but the people around you were completely toxic and garbage and everything. There's no amount of success that can save you if that's the case.
Audrey, what is your advice? This is your closing statement.
No.
Yes, your closing statement while Roberto thinks about an outro. Roberto's going to come up with an outro.
Oh, I do have another statement I need to make.
Roberto,
I have to give someone advice. I have to give people advice.
You've been giving advice for the past 40 minutes.
I want to give something tangible, because my advice right now is a little high-minded and heavy-handed.
You have 20 seconds.
I'm going to allot myself 90.
No, Roberto.
I just did.
I'm gonna
I've spoken.
There are no
I'm
rules,
gonna
Romeo.
This is I've got the
No,
cursor.
No, but seriously,
on the
this is something
microphone.
someone's gonna need. This is someone's gonna need for real though. Someone needs this because I know it
Okay.
sounds like it's because this is a whole. Oh, that's easy for you to say, and you have so
You've
much in
got
your
60
success.
seconds.
But like the reality, well, please allot me as much time as I might consume. But like the reality, here's the harsh reality. But here's what you're gonna do about it. Here's what you're gonna do about it. Because I know that not everybody can start an online course. I know not everyone can start a YouTube channel. I'm not even suggesting that. That's not even how I really made my money. I keep explaining that I did not make my money that way. To this
60
day, I
seconds.
still don't. The thing that I would tell you that immediately is true right now is that the gig economy is real and that there are these apps in your phone and there are things you can do. There's a website called User Testing. You may not always get a user test, but you can make $15 in like 10 minutes if you happen to get a user test. You might get 1 a day, you might get 2 a day, you might get 3 a day. Opportunity exists for you there. Textbroker.com, you can make money there. There's a website called hirewriters.com. I used to use this back in the day, and I used to make $20 or $30 a day. And yeah, I would do writing assignments, but if I had nothing else going on for the day or I couldn't find any other work, it was fine because I would do these writing assignments and I'd make $5, $8, and I would do this as many times as possible. I didn't have to write about anything I even cared about or was passionate about. I wrote whatever assignments would pay because it was not going to take me an hour to do these writing assignments. So writing these things and making $5 or $8 in like 30 minutes to write a short intro or a blog post or a product description or whatever they wanted to hire me to write, I did it. So I could make like that $30 extra in a day, and $30 extra in a day is, if you do it every day, is $900 in a month. And you can use that to change your life. You can use that to work your way slowly out of debt. You can use that to have money to put into a portfolio to start investing toward your future. It won't make you rich overnight, but remember, I invested $500 to make back another $200 on top of it. And maybe that won't always happen, but again, I didn't gamble. All I did was literally invest into the richest, greediest, most profitable, most powerful companies in the world. If you believe in the corporate greed narrative, the best thing you could do is invest in the greediest, most invincible, most ruthless, most corrupt people possible as far as corporations. So the ones that have the largest market cap, if you believe that narrative. I'm not saying that that's true. So hashtag no slander, but like if you believe that these companies are so corrupt and so greedy and no one can stop them, or it's going to be 5 or 10 years that before anyone stops them, buy stock in them and make that money in the meantime until justice is served. Never let a tragedy go to waste, apparently. That may not square with you, but it is practical advice, if nothing else. You want to play it safe, invest in the S&P 500, get an index fund or something like that. You don't take my word for it. Talk to an actual CPA or financial advisor, get some real advice, go to your bank, talk to a fiduciary. But my point is, make a practical move incrementally. Even I incrementally always saved money wherever I could. Even if it meant doing without something, I saved money wherever I could. I made extra money however ways I could. And I did that in a time where Uber and Fiverr and DoorDash and Grubhub and these things didn't exist. I used every website on the internet available to make extra money. It didn't always work out. There are times when I did work for people as a freelancer that didn't pay up, and like they got to work and I didn't get paid. It happens in real life too. And you can't always say, oh, I'm going to sue my employer. You can't always do that. You can't afford that in the real life. So don't be afraid to take some losses and lessons along the way, but incrementally, little by little, piece by piece, do whatever it takes to make a little bit of extra money. And then don't go out and spend that money to make yourself feel better and to feel more comfortable and everything like that. Put that money toward eliminating your debts so you're not at the mercy of compound interest. Put that money toward building compound interest for yourself so you're playing the game to win. Put that money, invest in yourself into tools and resources that would make you more money. Guys, I didn't go out and spend money and go and buy a Tesla. I went out to show off and flex, or I didn't go out and buy you don't think that I could afford to like have a Lambo like some of these people and like be sitting out here and putting that in my
YouTube. Tangible advice, bullet points. It's been 3 minutes.
Side hustle with the websites I gave you. Hell, on my YouTube channel, I have 10 websites to make money online as a video. Go watch that video. Make money from a side hustle. Take that money, start eliminating debt, start investing, start saving for a safety net for yourself, invest back into tools that elevate your value. If you want to make more money, if you want people to value you, you have to move from a position to where you're just working hourly wages for labor and to where you can deliver results that you can charge for and charge what you want to charge for them. So like, do that kind of work, do it as extra on top of your stable income if you happen to be so fortunate as to still have one, and slowly work your way to where doing something that you're really good at is paying you. Maybe consider, if you're someone who's labor-based right now and you're not making good money because you have an hourly wage or you have a crappy job, put yourself in a position, do a side hustle, take that extra money and go and save your money and get a trade. Go get a trade. The thing that won't go away with automation, believe it or not, ironically, is becoming a mechanic. It will become more valuable. You become a mechanic, just like my dad, be a grease monkey. You know, he worked his way up from the motor pool in the military, and that was a good gig for him.
Audrey, what is your tangible advice for people who say they're working too hard and not getting anywhere?
You gotta stop putting me on the spot like this.
I literally put you on the spot like 5 minutes ago. You've had time. Roberto bought you time. Roberto literally bought you time.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is to just, sometimes it's hard to actually take a step back and look at what you're doing critically and actually analyze it realistically, because maybe you want to do something so badly and it's not working out, so you kind of put on these blinders and ignore the reality of what you're doing and what the results are. So I don't know how to like help people ignore that sometimes, you know, because I feel like sometimes it's, you just get in that lane and it's hard to tell, or it's hard to be self-critical and admit that like maybe you need to change things up a little bit. But I think even if you are in that mindset, you kind of know deep down, even if you're pushing it back. So I think talking to friends and stuff who have similar goals or whatever is helpful, because you can maybe get a different perspective on what it is you're doing. So I think that's my main piece of advice. It's just, I don't know, just talk to people and try to like take a step back and actually look at what you're doing critically, because you gotta kind of like detach emotionally from it and just actually look at what's happening.
So the first step is to take Audrey's advice and then go over to Roberto's channel.
Yes.
after you break down the emotional barrier that you've built for yourself. Yes. Then start working on the practical steps.
Mm-hmm.
If I hadn't let my emotions get the better of me this year, guys, I would have probably been in a position like some of my friends. A lot of my friends doubled or tripled their income this year despite COVID, because they put themselves in that position because they didn't make emotional decisions. I spent this entire year basically indulging my emotions one way or the other, instead of making myself as useful as I could be to other people, and serving at the pleasure of the market. And if I had done that, I would have made double or triple this year. I'd be closer to my goals. I would have been able to buy my mom like a house, like, and take advantage of like the market in that situation. I would have been able to clear my sister's student loans completely and not wait on like the potential government thing to do it.
Now that you're aware of it, you're working on it, and next year you're going to work on those things.
Yeah, I'm going to manage my emotions better and not let them deter me from the goals that I've set, and not let them get in my way. The best mindset that I've come up with for a creative person like us is stoicism, so that you can have, you're not denying your emotions, you're managing them, and you're like getting perspective, and you're not letting yourself become emotionally leveraged. You're not being at the mercy of your emotions. And then you need optimism, so that you can believe in the thing that you're doing and believe that it will lead somewhere at some point. And then you need patience as the third part of that equation, because you need to be able to see things through, and you need to be able to be committed and that really matters a lot. You know, patience is that commitment, that consistency, it's perspective, it's a lot of those things. So it's like that, you know, setting your emotions aside and doing the work, believing in the work that you're doing and not just phoning it in or going through the motions, like really be emotionally invested in the process and not the everything else that's happening, but the process. Love what you're doing. But even when you don't love it, when you don't have those feelings, know that it matters. And so you got to commit to doing it anyway, and then be patient. Like, be like, okay, it didn't happen today, but did I learn? Did I grow? Did I benefit? Did I, like, you know, and really just take it, you know, take it all in, take it a day at a time, and know that it all adds up, that beautiful compound interest. So stoicism, optimism, patience, and you will be okay.
And I would probably add to take risks and make sacrifices. And I definitely would start off with what Audrey said, which is taking a step back. And one of the things that helps me with that is journaling. And I mean, you can call it whatever it is that you want. But it's just taking a piece of paper and a pen and writing down what all of your feelings are. And it doesn't matter if it sounds like Shakespeare wrote it or not. You're just writing, this is for you. You're not sharing this with anyone. You're writing down what you're feeling. You can even start off by saying, I don't know what to write. Sometimes I literally start off with that. It's like I'm talking to someone and I'm like, I don't know what to say. And I start off and then I just let myself go and I start thinking about how I'm feeling, where I'm at and where I want to be. And then from that, I take the keywords and I think about what are some actionable steps. I take the things that I'm doing right now and I actually put emojis. Like I draw a smiley face or a sad face according to how I'm feeling about certain things that I'm doing. And so that way I know what things I need to eliminate. Because if it's making me sad, if it's upsetting me, if it's not helping me get to where I want to be, then why am I doing it every day? Right? Why am I letting this thing take precedence over the things that matter to me and the things that are helping me to get closer to the life that I want? Right? So I think that being able to analyze where you're at and then doing the research and to see where it is that you need to be and what is going to fulfill you. And then not just doing the research, but actually doing the work. And that's really, I know, right? It's mind-blowing. Guys, doing the research is only a quarter of the work. After that, you actually have to do it. And it's going to take sweat and you're probably going to bleed a little and it's going to hurt, but you have to do it. You have to put up the good fight. No knight ever got the princess by just sitting at home daydreaming about dragons and adventures.
Wow, that was a beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, I think we're gonna wrap things up. If
Okay.
Roberto has an outro.
Yes, I do.
Uh-oh, I'm scared.
Don't be. It's fine. It's fine. Thank you for listening to the No Assembly Required podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing and where we may have unintentionally shattered your hopes and dreams. I don't know, maybe. Anyway, if we have not done that and we've instead inspired, motivated, and educated you, then please don't forget to tune in to us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time-ish for your trio of hosts. And please remember to review us in the place where podcasts can be reviewed. Apple is one of them. Spotify is not, because they will not do their damn job. And, of course, remember that no audience members were hurt in the filming of this episode, only the feelings of my co-host, as per usual. Speaking of which, this is your trio signing off, starting first with Romina, the Dragon Slayer. And, of course, Audrey is over party. And, of course, and yes, and she had that one coming for her earlier shenanigans. So we're all about accountability over here. Yeah, you heard me. And, of course, your favorite Dark Lord of the Internet's the embodiment of the Grinch and Scrooge if they happen to have the ugliest love child possible, Roberto Blake. Thank you for listening. We will catch you for a holiday episode to be determined. Nop.